on the camera so that you don't miss anything. And as we take a look at this lion having a drink, I'll let you know a little bit about our plans for the morning and also about what else has been happening last night. It's a beautiful, beautiful morning here. There's a little bit of cloud cover, not a breath of wind, and it looks like we're in luck. These lion, as we found them here at Vuyatela Dam, just started getting up, and we could see a little bit of playful action. Their bellies are looking a lot more comfortable and less swollen, and it appears they are successfully digesting whatever it is they caught last night. Awesome, look at this. And if any of you may be joining for the first time, a very warm welcome. And just to let you know, this is happening this very second. It's a live safari. And not only is it live, but it's also interactive. So if you would like to ask us questions at any stage, it's really easy to do so. You just hashtag Safari Live on Twitter or send an email through to questions@wildearth.tv. James and Wiem have headed south towards Twin Dams. There was a report of a female leopard seen there last night. So they are trying to see where she has headed. She could be very far, but it's certainly worth them heading in that direction. And there was also some other lion audio heard by James this morning, and he's got a feeling it was coming from that southern part of Djuma. It really is remarkable to see how much more playful they are today than they were yesterday, as they were extremely full-bellied. As I said, we're not exactly sure what they managed to catch 2 nights ago, but they were successful and all extremely full-bellied. You may be hearing the loud bird call, the loud bird call in the background. Chip, 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 chip. That is a helmeted guinea fowl that is not enjoying the sight of these lion, and that's their alarm call that they're letting off. And I forgot to introduce myself with all this lion action. My name is Scott, if you are joining for the first time, and the other presenter that you will meet a little bit later on is James. And Nikki is in the director's chair with Tara lending her a hand this morning. And we're certainly looking forward to the action that is going to unfold here on Djuma and Arathusa this morning. To all of you who sent through updates as to what was seen at the waterhole last night, thank you very, very much. Ellen, Harlequin Dream, and Purple Rain, Heartstone and Lynn, we really do appreciate your updates. And I'm told that there was a herd of elephant that came down to drink. And it'll be great if we can manage to track them down a little bit later. Apologies, a single elephant, so in all likelihood a bull. It's never easy deciding where to film when there's so much action unfolding, but Brian's doing a great job at it. And look at how awesome this is. We're considerably lower than them here, and it's such a wonderful angle when you are below the animal or eye level with them. Look at this. This is too good. And not only are they reaffirming their bonds and affection with one another now, but it's also useful training to keep in touch with their hunting skills all these little games they're playing now are the very similar movements that they will perform when hunting. So they're keeping their relationships in check, as well as their muscle memory for hunting. Excuse me. I am allergic to cats, but I don't think we are close enough for these lions to be causing me to sneeze just yet. Well, good morning, curious one, and thanks for sending your question through. Curious one, I'm guessing, has been listening or watching the Djuma waterhole cam, and she heard the audio of these lions gently calling this morning, and she's interested to know why would they be calling if they're all together. And it could be to communicate with lions in the surrounding area, the dominant male coalition, or just to let other lion know that they are here. There has been quite a lot of movements of lion over the last few weeks since I've been away, and the Styx lioness are pushing into this area, and they could just be making sure that they let other lion know that they are here. Or possibly it was the lioness who headed down to the waterhole to drink first, trying to rally the rest of the pride to come along and follow her. You'll notice little balls of grass dangling from the tree around this lion, and those are all weavers' nests, if you were wondering. They're not active at the moment, but over November and December and January there was a hive of activity in and amongst these nests that the weaver birds have incredibly built, just using their beaks to weave each individual blade of grass. Interestingly enough, we were alerted by the waterhole cam and the zoomies and the viewers that the weavers had located a baby African rock python that was obviously trying to catch some of the babies, and they bomb dived it, and it got caught in that little tree by a hooked thorn that was captured its tail. So we had an interesting sighting with those weaver birds, and now this morning, months later, another interesting sighting in the same place. What I'm going to try and do is reposition ever so slightly and get us a little bit closer to these lion. So hold on for a second. Good morning, Tony in Holland, and good to have you with us. Tony's interested to know what would happen to a lioness when she becomes old and weak. Will the pride kill her, or what will their reactions be to a young and an old and weakening lioness? It's a great question, Tony. Typically what they would do is they would actually just leave her to try and fend for herself. She will follow the pride, but the main problem she'll face is at meals, when the pride has made a kill, she won't be able to compete to get herself into a good position to feed. And lions are really, really harsh when it comes to feeding. And what I've seen in the past with old and weakening lionesses is they simply do not get the opportunity to feed, and that way they slowly wither away and will eventually die of starvation, is often what causes their death. It is really harsh, but you can understand that for the rest of the pride, it doesn't make sense to keep an old, weak member going unless they can contribute. And an old, weak lioness that cannot contribute to hunting or defending the pride is of no use to them. So it doesn't make sense to keep her alive and have her consume and precious food that the rest of the pride could be feeding on. So starvation is usually what will get them, and it's always a very hard thing to witness and be a part of, but it is nature, and there's good reason behind Mother Nature's plans for these animals, as harsh as it may appear sometimes. Well, the lions obviously weren't in sync with the plan that I had there to get into a good spot to show you to them, but we will reposition now and find out what they're up to. I'm guessing they could all be playing around nearby, so don't go anywhere, because I think there's still going to be a bit more action with these lions. Just have to try and establish where they've gone. I can see Junior up ahead. He's the young male of the pride. Just see a few more individuals down to the left, so they're all around us. We just need to get into the right position. Morning, Chris, and good to have you with us. Chris is interested to know, will lion ever swim recreationally to cool down or for enjoyment? And it's a good question. You may have seen tigers doing that in the past, Chris, and tigers are one of the only big cats that will actively go into water that I know of, and it's unlike lion or leopard or cheetah to ever go into the water unless they are really desperate to cross a river or possibly catch some prey. Leopard have been known to even fish catfish or other fish out of drying ponds, so they get their paws wet, but it's only for a meal. Other than that, they will avoid water at all costs, and it's actually quite amusing to see them trying to cross rivers, because they can be quite pedantic and look almost quite nerdy when they are attempting to cross rivers. Let's take a closer look at this young male. And Chris, good to have you with us, and thanks for sending that question through. If you listen very carefully, there's a very small chance you may hear some hyena audio. It's a very faint whooping, but I think it could be a little bit far away for you to hear. It sounds like it could be in the vicinity of the den sites that we occasionally get to view them at. Well, morning Billy Joe, and thank you for blessing my sneeze from a little bit earlier. Billy Joe has mentioned that quite a few of the viewers who watch on Ustream have named this young male lion, or nicknamed this young male lion, Tufty. And I think that's a very appropriate nickname, because look at that funny little tuft on his head. They do look a little bit awkward in their initial stages of their main growth, but he is hopefully going to turn out into a majestic male lion in the next couple of years. He does have a rocky road ahead of him. In the near future, he will be kicked out of this pride by his fathers, and he's already quite lucky to have been tolerated up till this age. And when he does get kicked out, he's going to have to fly below the radar possibly move a very large distance before he finds other lions that he can hopefully team up with, that accept him into their coalition. But he is going to have to live a life of extreme caution when he does get removed from this herd, apologies, this pride of lion. What I'm going to do is just reposition once more, because we'll be able to get a great shot of this lion and the rising sun behind him. So give me a moment or two. That was bad timing, he just let off a yawn there. It's not such a cold morning today. It's about 13 degrees Celsius, which is about 50 degrees Fahrenheit, and enjoying the slightly warmer conditions, as it can get a little bit cooler than that at this time of the year. Well, that's not a bad way to start the day, everyone. You can see a fairly substantial bank of clouds out to the eastern horizon. Brian is busy taking you on a little bit of a tour of that cloud bank. We've just got a question through from Lisa saying that she has heard some lion audio around Idube, which is another property quite far south of us in the Sabi Sands. It's actually an area where I used to work, and I used to drive around Idube and surrounding lodges in the western section of the Sabi Sands. The chance of us hearing audio from there is not likely. It's probably about 20 kilometers from here, which is about 12 miles roughly, and it's too far to have an impact on the lion of this area, or for us to be able to hear that, Lisa. The Sabi Sands is a large reserve, 65,000 hectares, where animals in this specific area will have no interaction or contact with other animals within the other parts or southern parts of the Sabi Sands. Well, we are going to stay with these lion and probably go and have a look and see if we can find what the rest of the pride are up to. And while we're establishing what's going on exactly, I think it's a good opportunity to head back to James, or head across to James. He would like to say good morning to all of you and let you know what he's been up to and what his plans are, and we'll see you all a bit later.
Good morning. You're very welcome. You find us here looking east out over towards the Lobombo Mountains. We've come out here following some leopard tracks, but I don't know where they've gone. Karula was spotted around this area last night, and we're hoping to try and pick her up again today. Just listening very carefully to any kind of alarm call, any kind of abnormal sound that might be going on here. Anyway, you are most welcome, like I say. My name is James. On camera we have Vium today. He is dressed in sort of a very patriotic regalia today, which is quite nice. He's got a fancy South African hat on, and that's always nice to see. We are we are at the moment, sorry, the radio is now blaring in my ear. We are now going to head down south here. There's some big elephant tracks. So, just to give you some background for those of you who perhaps don't know, Karula is the sort of queen of Djuma, if you like. That's this little section of glorious Kruger National Park that we find ourselves on. And she is about an 11-year-old leopard who I have never seen before. And I have been here for 5 weeks now, 5 weeks and 1 day. And I am fairly desperate now to see this leopard because everyone in the Twitterverse talks about her. All of my colleagues talk about her, and I've never seen her. So I'm quite desperate to find her. She was found last night while we were looking at sleeping lions. She was found at a waterhole called Twin Dams, just down here. And from there, she headed east. And that's basically where we are now. We're east of that position. We did find her tracks going towards that waterhole, but that was obviously prior to her having her evening snifter last night, and she's now on her way, came on her way out here. We're going to try and find her. There's some pretty thick bush in here. Not really sure how much luck we're going to have, but we're going to do our level best. But what you can rest assured of is that there are hugely interesting things everywhere we look. There are great vistas to be had. There are birds, there are trees, there are insects, there are arachnids that we can look at. And there's just a glorious atmosphere of the winter African dawn. So you are most welcome. And please send through your questions and send through your comments, hashtag Safari Live or questions at wildearth.tv. I'm sure Scott found the sort of that you have engaged in and have set off and sparked during the last few weeks. It's been really interesting. I've learned a huge amount about the bush and about our thinking on the bush. And the most important thing, I think, that we need to realize while we drive around here and think is that there's a huge amount of randomness to what's going on here. And we are as human beings, we're very keen to pocket the behavior that we see and the incidents that we see into some kind of theoretical framework. And that's just what we do naturally, and I do it myself enormously. But so often we're wrong. And so often there's some kind of random thing that happens because we're not au fait with all the variables. And that's what I found so interesting over the last 5 weeks. Right, so let us, with an open mind, sally forth and see what wilderness wonders we can find. I have one glove. Scott has managed to take his gloves back. I used them while he was on leave. Viam has lent me this rather large, ominous-looking leather glove. Hopefully it will bring us luck. The sun is just about to peep over the horizon, but it has not peeped yet. And off to the west, there is a rather misty valley. It's pretty chilly. I'm not sure what the temperature is. I'd say probably about 10 degrees Celsius. Up here on the crest, quite nice and warm. Very nice to have those lions early on in the morning. They tend to be, there's a zebra view. And there's another one there. Let's just quickly stop here. I'm going to do quite a lot of stopping and listening, and if we've got a zebra to look at, well, all the better for that. Nice to see the lions early in the morning, playing around a bit. I'm sure they're still looking pretty full, and so they'll probably go down and snooze quite a lot. I was just thinking as I drove along today, very thick stripes that zebra's got on her neck, or his neck. Just thinking how we talk about the dawn chorus, and I think I speak about it ad nauseum every day, but how quiet it is in winter. And then I got to thinking about bird migration and how astonishing that biological phenomena is of these tiny little birds like the barn swallow, which is our sort of herald of the summer when it arrives back in sort of early September. And that barn swallow, the distances that it travels, probably over 10,000 kilometers in some cases. It's just a I mean, that's, what's that? That's 16, no, it's about, call it 7,000 miles, or 6,500 miles. That is a massive, massive distance for a tiny little bird. How does it know where it's going? How does it know to find the little nest that it made last year in Europe? How does it know to find that? It's got a brain roughly that big. How does it find its way? How does it survive on a journey like that? And what biological mechanisms allow it to know to do it? So they do it totally instinctually. No one teaches a swallow where to fly, or how to fly, or where to go. And I just find it the most amazing thing. So any thoughts you have on bird migration, I'd love to hear them. But that's why it's such a quiet dawn chorus. It's a chamber music chorus during the winter. Because so many of those birds disappear off perfectly quiet. So many of them disappear off to Europe and up into Africa, where they can enjoy a full-time summer while we have the winter here. I can't hear anything shouting at leopards, so we're going to continue. The mist is hanging around for a lot longer than it sometimes does. Liam was just saying as we drove up here, we saw another zebra, and he said, he says that your cunning disguise does not fool me, and that's absolutely correct. Of course, those zebras' disguises are very poor if you have the eyes of a human being. Thank you to all of you who are wishing me luck on finding Karula. Certainly it would make my day, possibly my week, possibly my month. I'm going on a spot of a sabbatical in about 5 days' time, and if I don't see her before then, I shall be somewhat desperate, I feel. I know that there is one other chap looking for her at the moment, but as yet nothing has come up on the radio. The advantage of a day like this is that, I don't know if you can see, Liam, can you just sort of try and get that mist there? It looks very beautiful. Quite apart from the beauty of that mist, what it does is that it means that there's been quite a lot of moisture in the air. In fact, I'll just show you exactly how much moisture. It's unusual to have this much moisture in winter. Liam, can you get a shot of this once you've finished being aesthetically pleasing on the mist there? Can you see the water? Can you see the water there? Try. There are just little water droplets on the edge of this grass. It's a grass called Spirobolus, which is a good morning grass to say when your lips are a little bit cold, Spirobolus. And there are little droplets of water on this Spirobolus. I'm not sure if you can see them. Can you get them, Bill? And that for winter is pretty unusual. And the advantage if you're tracking leopards is that leopards, like most kitties, do not really like to be too wet unless it's hot, and they actually will swim sometimes. But that means that they will often use the roads so that they can avoid becoming wet and cold in the grass. And so with any luck she'll be on a road walking gently towards us, and we'll spend most of the morning with her, but maybe not. All Right, we're going to pop across to Scott while VM and I attempt to find this recalcitrant lady leopard. He's refound the lions, and we'll see you a little bit later.
Welcome back, everyone, and as you can see, we're driving through some fairly thick bush. The lions are on the move, most of them, but they continued moving, and they should be popping out just in front of us at any moment, so nothing to worry about. We will see them again. It's just been a little bit tricky following them through the riverbed that flows below and out of the Hyenas waterhole. Now it appears like I have chosen the wrong spot to try and go through here, but we will find a way, and when we do, we will be spoiled with some more great visuals of these lions. But while we get into position, it'll be great to answer some of your questions, so that's what we're going to be doing. There's a network of different tributaries and little smaller inlets that flow in towards this riverbed, which make it difficult for us to follow the lions directly, hence the little bit of roundabout action that we are going through now. And rather than doing any unnecessary bundu bashing, which is another term, or a term we use out here for driving off-road, the bundus is another word we'll use for the bush. Rather than causing any unnecessary damage, we're going to take our time and get into the right place. I've got a feeling they're going to pop out onto Central Road, which is not far from us, where another little riverbed flows into the main Mulwati riverbed system. So hold on a second. I think our timing is going to be perfect. Oh, and I can see the tracks of an elephant, in all likelihood the same elephant that we had a report of drinking at the Hyenas waterhole last night. They are heading in this direction. This is kind of where the lions were heading towards. Here they are, perfect. Our timing wasn't in front of the front lioness, and we're going to be able to follow the rest of the pride. As they all come past, they listen to this. She's calling the rest of them, urging them to hurry up. And even though it was a soft and gentle call, it's still one of my favorite things to share with anyone on safari. And what a morning it's been so far already. Here you can see the other pride members in the background. And she's come to say good morning. Just a few meters in front of the vehicle there. Morning, Craig. Nkuhumas are mobile east on Central Road. So, we couldn't ask for anything more than this. Lions on the move, and it's good to see that they've finally digested enough of whatever they caught 2 nights ago to a point where they are more comfortable to move around. It looks like the rest of the pride took a bit of a shortcut and are all cutting through this vegetation just ahead of us, but they are going to pop onto the road ahead of us, although it looks like some individuals may have already crossed over. We're going to be in a good spot here though to see the rest of them crossing again from a low angle, which is great. Now, even though they are fairly full-bellied, if they were to come across any potential prey now, they are certainly going to try their best to catch whatever it may be. So we could get lucky, we could see some high-intensity action from these lions a little bit later, or we could just see them playing with one another. They seem to have a bit of a playful streak this morning.
Take it on green.
I think that lioness is rubbing her paws and nose in some old buffalo dung in the road. So that is what she was doing. We'll take a closer look when we do continue along the road, but it's not uncommon for lion to roll in buffalo dung, and I've just taken a look through my binoculars. That's exactly what it is. It's an old dried up piece of buffalo dung. And there's different theories as to why a lion would roll in it or rub their paws in it, possibly to rub the scent of that buffalo over them to mask their own scent, but that is not going to work too well. They sometimes will even lick and consume the fresher buffalo dung that they come across, and that's possibly to attain some minerals and nutrients from the buffalo's diet that their very different diet doesn't provide them with. You may have noticed the swollen front left elbow of the lion that came into shot last at the back of the line, and that is not an uncommon sight in lion within the Kruger National Park, as they are all mostly infected with bovine tuberculosis, which they pick up from the buffalo that they feed on. It's not life-threatening to them initially, but if they do become weak or go through a rough patch of hunting, that TB can be pronounced, and that's why it's often pronounced in the younger members of prides, because they aren't getting as much food as the adults who outcompete them at kills. Here comes Junior, the young male, always at the back of the queue, and fairly typical behavior of male lions who tend to be a bit lazy when they can afford to be. We're going to continue now. It's going to be tricky to loop ahead of them. It would be first prize if we could somehow loop ahead of the lion and have them walking down the road towards us. But as you can see, either side of the road is very thick, and it's going to make sneaking ahead of them close to impossible. But if we do get a little gap, that is what we will try and do. James, come in. James, just wondering what your position is. Okay, copy, thanks. We'll keep in touch. The Nkuhumas are mobile east along Central, so it might be nice if you could approach from the east and get their frontal views, because I'm going to battle to loop ahead of them here. Okay, copy. Good luck with those tracks. Well, great news, James has found some female leopard tracks on Leadwood Road. As you would have heard me mentioning, it would be nice if he could approach from the east and get you some frontal views of these beautiful lions. But we will just keep in touch and see how the morning unfolds, because we certainly don't want to drag him away from those female leopard tracks. Imagine if he manages to find her, and then we've got two of the apex predators that we can show you. The sun is now beginning to cast some beautiful last station, go ahead with your message. I'm on channel 1. Okay, copy that. Thanks for that update. Okay, very good, very good. The morning is coming alive, and like I was saying, this beautiful golden morning sunlight is beginning to bathe these lions, and I hope that we are lucky enough to continue following them, and it'll be interesting to see how much longer they stay on the move for. But this is exactly what we want with lion. They spend so much time every day sleeping, often with us parked nearby, which certainly, don't get me wrong, is better than not seeing lion, but this is really the best. Golden morning sunlight, the pride of lions on the move. Anything could happen. They could come across leopard, lion, potential prey. So really good prospects. And the colors that we witness in the winter months really are special, and you can see exactly what I'm talking about. The mixture of golds and yellows and greens and oranges are really, really beautiful at this time of year. There's a great diversity in colors, whereas the summers can be a little bit overcrowded with green, as everything is lush. Now, we've got some decisions to make here. They have linked across onto Hyena Road, which again is a tricky road to get ahead of them on, but we are going to continue trailing behind them, and there is a chance that they could follow Hyena Road for a small distance and then cross east further towards Buffelshoek Dam, which is what I'm guessing. This is going to be beautiful. Look at that. Uh-oh, you can see Junior misbehaving there. He's becoming more sexually inquisitive as the days go by, and this is the exact reason why he will be kicked out of the pride. Look at the mist and steam coming out of the lion's mouth. Ah, this is too good. And it's so good that I'm going to actually get my camera out and try and fire off a few snaps to hopefully show my grandchildren one day. Good morning, Tamara, and thanks for sending your question through. Tamara is interested to know, or to be reminded of, why are the lion's tails black? And a lot of the animals out here will have follow me signals, which will make it an easy lure to keep young cubs in focus of following their parents or other members of the pride. And basically that's why it's there. Leopards have a white tip at the back of their tail, which will perform the same function. Morning, PK in Iowa, and thanks for sending your observation and question through to us. PK's interested to know whether it's common for all young male lions to... Oh, we've got a little gap to loop ahead of the pride here, so hold on. Will they always follow up from the rear and be the last in queue? And yes, it is very often that the young males and even the old males are the lazy ones at the back of the line. And I guess that's just part of their nature. They know that the lioness are more inclined to provide and hunt, and this allows them the opportunity to be a little bit more lazy. They will, however, contribute when the time is right with hunting. And especially when hunting large prey like buffalo, they will get involved and provide really, really important support to the smaller lionesses. What I'm going to do now is just turn around. The lion are just up ahead of us to the left, coming towards us, but I want to be following them in reverse. In case they do pop onto this road, it'll be easier to get you some great frontal views of them. Just continue, that line in front appears to be looking very intently up ahead. I can hear some oxpeckers in this area, so there could be some potential prey. Do is try and find a place to stop and wait for them, but it's proving a little bit tricky this time around, so we just need to be a bit patient. They're moving quite cautiously and slowly, and we don't want to go in there unnecessarily. We've already had some great views of them, and it's better sometimes just to wait and in order to get best views, rather than crashing in to get you a 1-second glimpse before having to continue off-roading. Although here I've said we need to be patient and 10 seconds later I'm wanting to start the car and continue. So here we go. That's worked out well. She does appear to be stalking. She is stalking, and there must be something up ahead here. What she is doing is possibly not heading directly towards the prey, but trying to loop around. And you can see she's very intense. And what the other members of the pride may be doing is heading in the opposite direction, creating a pincer movement, encompassing the prey. Whatever the prey could be. I've got no idea. Oh, it's a buffalo. Can you believe it? We could see a buffalo hunt. I'm just going to get into position. There's 1 or 2 buffalo bulls here. Can you believe it? This is really, really awesome. This is exactly what we hope for. It's the ultimate showdown to see lion hunting buffalo. It's a very difficult task for them, but if we get to see this action unfold, it will be absolutely awesome. It's something that doesn't happen very often, and the few times that I have watched this pride hunt buffalo, the buffalo have actually showed them who's boss and actually made a fool of the Nkuhuma pride. The one lioness is still parallel to us as we're reversing, and the buffalo are just off to our right now. There's more than one. I'm not sure how many are here, but I can see about 4 or 5 so far. I just want to get a little bit further, and then we'll be in a situation to stop. Okay folks, now it's important to understand that we really do appreciate all the questions that you send through, but it's impossible to answer all of them, and especially in a scenario like this when lions are hunting buffalo, we need to let the animals do the talking and also just keep you fully informed as to what's going on. So apologies if we aren't answering as many questions as you would like, but it's impossible to do everyone's questions, especially on a morning like this. Now the one lioness is behind us, and there's a little gap here where I think we are going to decide to wait, because either way it's quite thick here. Sorry Brian, I've parked him on a bit of an awkward angle with the camera, but just to give you the full picture, the buffalo are off to our right. I've seen about 5 or 6 of them, and the one lioness has followed us basically step for step as we've reversed. She's been parallel to us, and she's now actually almost completely behind these buffalo. The rest of the pride, well, we can only guess as to where they are, but I would like to think that, and typically what lion will do is they'll try and spread out, encompass their prey, and that way when one lioness does charge in, the rest of them can simultaneously attack from all angles, and this is what makes lions hunting so successful. The one lioness has just crossed behind us, and Brian will possibly be able to get her in view fairly shortly. Should I reverse Brian a bit, or?
I think she'll come into shot.
Okay. So we are just going to wait where we are, but directly behind the antenna that you can see in the center of the shot is where the lion is. So if you look closely behind that bush, you may see a little bit of movement, but she does appear to be heading from right to left, and she is in there behind that termite mound. Apologies for the view of the aerial in the center of the shot, but this is a live show and there's certain things that are simply unavoidable. Now, you may be wondering, how did the lion detect these buffalo? Possibly a combination of smell as well as hearing. They could possibly even hear the buffalo chewing the cud. Or their hooves gently padding through the undergrowth. As you can see, this buffalo now is doing exactly that. He is chewing the cud. in a complete state of relaxation. They have got no idea that there's a pride of lions surrounding them. What we can expect when the buffalo do get wind of the lion is a lot of crashing through bushes as they run off. If the lion are lucky enough to pull down one buffalo, that's not the end of the hunt for them, because they're going to still have to contend with the other buffalo bulls that will regroup, regain a bit of mental prowess and courage, and come in and try and chase the lion off their colleague. We are going to try and reposition ever so slightly to give you a better perspective of what's going on, so hold on for a second please. It's just going to be a meter or two that we need to move. Now, as you can see, we are keeping a distance from the buffalo and the lion. We don't want to interfere and aid any of the predators or the prey whenever there is hunting, so we're keeping a safe distance. The closest buffalo is just ahead of us to the left over there, and now Brian can show you the lioness who's trying to creep up as carefully and quietly as she can. I know it's very thick, but like I said, it's important for us to not interfere, and I actually quite like these shots where the animal has some cover in the foreground. It gives you a great perspective of actually what's going on here, and also the view that the buffalo will have when looking at these lion. There's quite a lot of cover, and the lion are going to be able to get nice and close. Now I'm going to try and whisper as much as possible. Now again, we want to emphasize that we are simply spectators here, and we are in no way a part of this hunt. Wouldn't it be wonderful to know where the rest of the pride are? Good morning, Rena. And isn't this so exciting? Rena's interested to know, how many buffalo can I see? I've seen about 4 or 5. Brian? Brian's happy with that guesstimate as well. Like I say, it is fairly thick here, so there could be a few more buffalo that we cannot see. But there's at least 4 or 5. And what's interesting to note about even those numbers is that even though it's a very small herd of buffalo bulls, these are all bulls, there are no young calves or slightly smaller females that would be easier prey for the lion. So all of their potential options here are one of their toughest adversaries to take down, the mighty Cape buffalo. And even if there was only 2 of them and the lion managed to bring down 1, I've seen 1 buffalo bull come back and chase 8 lion, which is the same amount of lion we're looking at here, off another buffalo. So you just need 2 buffalo together to be a formidable team, and lion won't take any chances when buffalo come in and regroup to chase lion off buffalo that they've already taken down. It's not uncommon for the buffalo to come out on top, and I've seen lion getting tossed into the air like little rag dolls by these big buffalo bulls. They're incredibly powerful, probably 5 or 6 times heavier than your average lioness. So they've got a huge size advantage. The lioness off to our right is now sitting. Okay, I can hear running. Here's action. The buffalo are running, the lion's running off into shots as well. It's difficult to know what's going on here, but here goes. Great work on camera there, Brian. Look at how awesome this is. It looks like the lions haven't got lucky, but we're just going to reposition now quickly. Hold on to your... Oh. Great work on camera there, Brian. Look at how awesome this is. It looks like the lions haven't got lucky, but we're just going to reposition now quickly. Hold on to your everything, because we need to try and stay with them now. There's a big cloud of dust up ahead of us that's been left from these buffaloes' hooves, and like I said, it looks like the lion have been showed up again. But let's just make sure. They could continue chasing. Look at all this dust. It's important to just stop and listen in a scenario like this, because other members of the pride may be continuing to pursue those. It looked like 6 or 7 buffalo in the end that ran off, but not easy business. And I can now hear the lion vocalizing, probably in despair and frustration after missing that opportunity and seeing all that tasty meat running away. But what an awesome sighting that was, and even though it was very thick, thankfully Brian did an incredible job keeping track of that lion as she ran after the buffalo. So well done for capturing that, Brian.
Thank you.
It's not often we get to see lions hunting, so when we do, we get extremely excited, and in that excited state, it's not easy to make the right decisions. So, well done for pulling that off. My heart is racing, and I hope all of yours are as well. It's really exciting stuff. It's like, yet again, the buffalo have shown the Nkuhuma pride who is boss. What we're going to do is what the lion are going to do now. They did run off into very thick bush after these buffalo, but it looks like they probably will all come back to the road. But while we establish what they're doing, it sounds like James has found something very interesting for you. So from a buffalo hunt across to another exciting little piece of wilderness, we will see you later.
Hello everybody, welcome back to Jiga. We are looking at a spectacular knobthorn tree here that is about to die as a result of the machinations of some elephants. Now, I believe you were looking at some lions, which were probably relatively exciting, but not quite as exciting as this knobthorn tree. Viam, do you want to just pull focus out a little bit? We didn't really bring you over here to look at a knobthorn tree. There, everybody, is Karula in a tree with an impala. And we are extremely excited. We haven't been in there. We've been savoring the moment, and we're about to go in there and have a look now with you. So my day, my week, and my month have now been made. Let's get a closer look. Isn't that just magnificent? Caught in the wonderful rays of the rising sun. When I saw this leopard, well, I didn't see it. Viam spotted it. I was looking at the road at her tracks. I have to tell you, the surge of adrenaline I felt was quite profound. Right, it's going to get a little bit bumpy in here, but I don't really care at this stage. Shot there, Viam. Got it. Spotter in chief. again. She's had this kill for a while. It looks like it's fairly stringy, so I suspect what happened is that they saw her last night having a drink, and she came back here. And there's a hyena at the base of the tree picking up scraps. We just got to try and not destroy the vehicle before we get in there. We'll probably stop here to start with. Is that right, Vim?
I'll go with it.
Okay, we'll just stop here for a little while. We will try and get a look at her face again. Oh, I'm so excited by this. Isn't she magnificent? Good morning, Karula. How do you do? Lovely to meet you. So she has killed an impala. Looks like a yearling, maybe a bit younger, maybe actually last year's impala, so maybe 8 or 9 months old. I suspect she killed it yesterday, quite early, and then hauled it up the tree here. I wonder when she pulled it up the tree, because we've been in and around this area and she's in a pretty obvious location. So I suspect maybe she pulled it up when that hyena came along. And I'm not sure, you can't see the hyena now, but he's lying right at the base of the tree, waiting for scraps to drop down. And of course, if she drops that carcass now, that hyena will devour it in seconds. Just look at the way that morning light is catching her coat. And even the rather grim sound of her crunching the bones is rather inspiring. She's looking at something else coming this way. Very aware. Could be another hyena. Very aware. Now, unfortunately, I am going to have to call this in on the Game Drive channel, much as I'd love to savor her for ourselves. Stations, female leopard, Mumba Road, about, call it 500 meters from the junction of Drakensberger, to the west of the junction of Drakensberger. Animal is static, southern side of the road, in a tree. Copy, you'll get visual from Mumba Road, just come along Mumba. So, everybody, you kind of develop a relationship with animals out here. And I think many of you have noticed that even though you're perhaps not out here, you've developed relationships with all the animals out here. And with leopards, I find it's quite easy to develop a sort of an attachment to various ones depending on their different characteristics. And I'm really looking forward to developing a relationship with this one. I quite like the fact that she's not very large. She's got a huge territory though. For a female leopard, she's got a massive territory in this area. And I like the fact that she's a bit under pressure from her daughters, from the males. And yet this is the third kill she's had in the last week. We know the one that Mvula stole from her. Mvula, for those of you who don't know, is the sort of dominant male of the area. He stole a kill from her the other day. Highly unchivalrous behavior. And then she disappeared way east into a reserve called Torchwood, where she was found with a duiker in a tree. And that was about 3 days ago, 4 days ago. And here she is now with another kill. So she's a highly successful animal. I would very much like to get a shot of her face, so I think at the risk of facing the sun, shall we try and go a little bit round the side there?
Yep.
Okay. I don't think she's very disturbed by us. She seems entirely comfortable. So we'll just drive around the side and see if I can't get a look at her face. We are in some pretty thick stuff. Trees called Strychnos madagascarensis, which is not particularly interesting when there's a leopard around, but they are pretty hardy. What's this one here?
Yeah,
You got it?
I do.
Hyenas up and looking. We'll stop here for now. Is that right, Vian? I believe one of you has said that she needs to eat quickly. Well, if she maintains it up there in the tree, she won't have to eat too fast, but Susie, she's very aware that something seems to be coming from the basically to her right or in front of her. There seems to be something that keeps grabbing her attention. Oh, look at her, there she is. Hello. And a bit grim as it is, you can see there. Can you just get in on the throat there, Viam? Not of her, of the hapless antelope she's murdered. You can see there, this is a bit grim, we won't look at it for long, but you can see where she's gripped that animal around the throat, and that was probably what killed it. In fact, it's definitely what killed it. And the advantage is not so much the strangulation, because she's strong enough to snap that animal's neck. The advantage is that it then doesn't squeal. It can't make a noise and attract things like this hyena. So she's quite a pale leopard. Viam, do you think that's not an impala, is it?
Looks like a duiker.
A duiker.
Or even a Hyenas.
You're not a bushbuck. There's some disagreement as to what her breakfast actually is. Viam reckons a duiker, which is well possible. It's too pale to be an impala, which I initially thought it was from a little bit back there. I'm going with bushbuck at the moment, but I can't tell exactly. Oh, look at that. Hi. She's got quite a pug face. So she's not the Giselle Bundchen of leopards, but she's surely one of the most successful ones the Sabi Sands has ever seen. She's just listening to some zebras' alarm calling, but not paying them too much attention. Now, you see, what fascinates me about the difference between their behavior and lion behavior is that a lion will sit and eat without looking up. It'll go to sleep without looking anywhere, but a leopard is constantly aware. Leopard is constantly looking, checking what's going on, seeing what's happening. So, just while she's feeding, I think what we're going to do is try and reposition. Scott is with the lions, and they're apparently about to go to sleep, which will be so before they do that, you're going to nip across to him, and we're just going to reposition quickly, and we'll see you in a little while. Fear not, we are not going anywhere.
Welcome back, and before anything else is said, a huge congratulations to James for finding that female leopard with a kill. What a bonus, and very well done to him for working that one out. As you can see, one lioness just walked past the vehicle only a meter or so away, and another 5 members of the pride are lying here. We aren't sure where the other 2 could be. There's 8 in total, and as you can see, they are now all sleepy, out of hunting mode, and probably running through in their heads how they could have performed that hunt a little bit more effectively. But it's important to know that lion will hunt, but only be successful about 20% of the time. Well, we've got a question through from Lynn. Good morning, and it's great to have you with us. Lynn's interested to know, was only one lioness rather actively hunting the buffalo as they ran off? And it did appear that way from where we were parked. It certainly did. The lioness that was closest to us was the one that Brian filmed. But the other members of the pride did also appear to be actively chasing the buffalo. None of them got very close that I could see. It was very thick bush, but it was more than just the one lioness that was chasing the buffalo. And actually it was other members of the pride that initiated the hunt, and the buffalo started running, and only then did the lioness that we were close to join in on the hunts. So they all actively did look to be involved. It must be said, though, it looked like Junior, the young male, was nowhere to be seen when everything was happening. So I think he was possibly waiting for the lioness to possibly latch onto a buffalo before he would come in and throw his weight around. Then another question is from Lisa, and Lisa's interested to know why, or is it common for lion to hunt during the day? And yes, it certainly is common for lion to hunt during the day, Lisa. They will hunt whenever an opportunity is available to them, night or day, rain or snow. Not that we get snow here, but they will hunt at any time of the day. The difference is between daytime and nighttime hunting is that they are aided when hunting at night because they have the benefits of nocturnal vision. And there's another lioness that's just popped up here. So their prey are not kitted out with good nocturnal vision, whereas they are. So they have a definite advantage when hunting at night. And even if we were to take this specific hunt, for example, into account, they would have had a far greater chance at night when the buffalo would have been a lot more confused and scared as they ran off into the darkness. So you could probably assume that lion will have a greater success at hunting at night in general over many different hunts, because they do have that cover of darkness, but it's not to say that they cannot be successful during the day. And on top of that, a lot will depend on the area where you may be on safari. Animals' behavior will change drastically from area to area, even though you may be researching or looking at the same species. So you'll probably find that there are some areas of Africa where certain prides of lion find it easier to hunt during the day. For example, at a waterhole where animals may be coming down to drink, usually they do that during the day, and therefore lion may tap into that and make the most successful hunts during the daytime hours, whereas in other areas they may find the night is the most successful time for them to hunt. So it will vary from area to area and from pride to pride. Here we've got a little bit more action. There's one lioness who looks like she's returned to the pride. As I said earlier, there was only 6 of the 8 lying here initially, and 1 or 2 are getting up and moving around. Well, what a morning it is. Lion and leopard, and we've still got a lot of the show to go, so who knows what else we may find this morning. Well, good morning, Edward, and good to have you on board with us. Edward's asked an interesting question. If other animals see that a lion is weak or injured, will it possibly try and kill the lion and take it off because it's an easy opportunity? And most certainly, that will definitely happen. Animals like hyena, who are arch rivals with lion, will see a weakened lion and certainly investigate the opportunity of trying to eliminate any competition. And buffalo are no different. If those 6 or 7 buffalo bulls that we saw came across a weak or injured lion, there's a very strong chance that they would try and kill it. So it's not only other predators that will attack weakened lions, but buffalo will certainly be another animal that will get some payback, you could say, if that was to happen. So thanks, Edward, for asking that question. And we're going to see what these lions get up to, and depending on whether they go back to sleep or whether they carry on moving, we'll decide what our next move should be. But in the meantime, I think it's certainly worth heading back to James and the beautiful leopard that he has found. We'll see you a bit later.
Hello everybody, welcome back to Jiga. You've got a hyena there. The beautiful leopard we've just found has dropped 2 bushbuck legs. It is a bushbuck that has been killed. And she just dropped 2 bushbuck legs. And this patient, infinitely patient hyena, beautiful animal that he is too, is now devouring them. Bones, skin, fur, and hooves. There's no meat on those things. Just listen to the crunch. Incredibly powerful jaws. I'm going to try and move slightly forward. I just don't want to ruin the shot of the leopard. Ephraim, I'm on Mumba Road. It's on Mumba Road, about 500 meters to the west of Junction Drakensberg. I'm on the western side of the junction with Drakensberger Road, not through, I think there's a small drainage line. You can see the animal in the tree from the road. You went, it's only about 50 meters off the road. Okay. Oh, goodness gracious me. Yes, affirmative, just south of Mumba Road. Everybody, it's the game drive radio is not easy, especially when you're new like me and you're not always that clear as to where you are. Hello, Lisa. Lisa, can a lioness chase a leopard up a tree? Oh, lovely question. And Lisa, yes, absolutely, a lioness will chase a leopard up a tree. If we're a lioness to come along here, I'll tell you exactly what would happen, is that the hyena would take off at a tremendous speed into the bush. The leopard would probably climb onto a more spindly branch and then growl, and the lioness may or may not climb up into the tree. Now, a lioness can climb, not very elegantly, and while they're pretty good at going up, they're absolutely appalling at going down. So yes, leopard will definitely seek refuge from a much bigger lion predator up in a tree. Now that, she's not necessarily licking there for the sake of licking. She'll clean off the fur with her tongue, and then she uses those incredible carnassial teeth. And the carnassial teeth are the molars, and the molars on these amazing predators are designed like sharp edges, like scissors, and they cut over each other like scissors, and that helps them to shear the meat off the bone, and in the case of the hyena, to crush the bone, because obviously the sharper the tooth is, the more the power that is exerted by the jaw muscles. Ephraim, come in. Ephraim, just go west on Mumba Road back towards Twin Dams. I will get you audio and I'll call you in from there. Yeah, just go west towards Twin Dams on Mumba Road. You'll definitely get her visual on the southern side of the road. I do wonder how long this hyena has been sat here. Viam, can you smell that?
Smells lovely.
I think the hyena has relieved itself in the immediate vicinity. So I know this can tend to look a bit gruesome, and it's not necessarily the most aesthetically pleasing thing to see, but it is astonishing to see a leopard like this in this habitat, and it's amazing to think that this is her third kill in sort of less than 10 days. Thank you very much to Ellen for lots of information on Karula. She celebrated her 11th birthday in May, so she's rising 12 now, which is a good age for a leopard. And she's apparently raised 4 litters of cubs, which is pretty impressive, I must say. We had a fascinating leopard talk the other day from somebody, and what's really interesting is that apparently the age of the
Game's unlocked.
Copy. I won't start speaking until I know. And welcome back to this spectacular sighting of the Queen of Juma, Karula, the peaceful one, and she is being, as her moniker might suggest, entirely peaceful. Since you last left us, and I must just apologize for the strange happenings up in our satellites between here and wherever you happen to find yourself, be it in yesterday or tomorrow, Hawaii or Australia. But Viam and I have had a wonderful time in the company of this beautiful leopard. And she's just about finished the bushbuck that she killed, I suspect sometime early yesterday. The site of the kill is actually just behind us. We couldn't figure out where the slightly appalling stench was coming from, but what she did was disembowel the bushbuck just next to where we park now. And the reason they do that, of course, is to just to make it lighter. They don't eat some of the offal, and then it's much easier to carry up the tree. And sometimes what they'll do is bury it, but in this case, because she's taken the rest of the carcass up the tree, she didn't bury the offal. She just left it here to basically smell up the place, and I suspect that's precisely why that hyena arrived. And in fact, since you left us, we've had 2 hyenas in and about the place, and they've moved on now as the day has become more beautifully peaceful, as you can see. So once again, huge apologies for the loss of signal, but I have really had a magnificent morning in the company of this wonderful leopard. Hello, Ramey. Not a simple answer to your question. You want to know if we found Karula by tracking her ourselves. The second instance of your question is correct. Yes, we did track her ourselves. Shamedly, I think we actually drove past her once today without seeing her. Then we picked up the tracks coming from the other side, followed them, and when they went off the road, I was looking right out of the vehicle onto the road next to the car, and I said, Viam, the tracks seem to have disappeared here. And he looked to the left, and he said, oh, well, there she is. And there she was in the tree as you see her there. Thank you to everybody who's stayed with us throughout these sort of trying technological times. We're going to go a little bit over time and just spend a bit more time with Karula. I'm not sure she's going to do much today, but it's just wonderful to be in her presence, to be honest. And her sort of light, she's got a much lighter coat than many of the other leopards I've known in my time. And it's just wonderfully juxtaposed with the grey blue of the sky and the wonderful grey skeleton that this marula tree is producing in the winter. I think we might just try, Viam, shall we try and go around the other side of her face? She does turn her head every so often this way, but most of the time she's been facing that way. And whenever I speak, you can just see her ear twitching up this way, listening. Hashtag going to make a noise. Sorry, Vilm. So just while I reposition here, everybody, just so you know, Scott at Scotty D Safari, my erstwhile colleague and mentor in the realm of the LiveSafari. Oh, there's the hyena view, just in front of us there. Scott did find a magnificent herd of elephants drinking at Biffleshoek Waterhole, so I'm sorry you missed those. I think Brian did tweet a picture of him tossing some dung about the place. Probably not from the elephants that he found, that would have been disgusting. How's that? Good. There we go. We'll just get a brief glimpse of her face. The sun is not a great position. She's now, of course, put her face behind a branch. And I could go a little bit forward, but I don't think it's going to make much difference. I just want to see if she puts her head down, and then I'll move again. Just want to see if she puts her head down, and then I'll move again. Just very aware, these leopards, they never sleep like lions do. They're always lifting their heads, looking up, and checking what's going on. And since we last saw you, not a huge amount has happened. She has finished most of the carcass. She dropped a few more pieces. Another 2 hyenas arrived and polished off whatever she dropped on the floor for them. And then she settled into a post-breakfast snooze, which has lasted until we've seen you now. And I think the highlights reel, because I think you were still there, the final control was still receiving some of our signal, shows a lot of her eating, and so she's done a huge amount of consumption over the last little while. I think this bushbuck, from the smell of it, which is just about nothing, so it's not very smelly at all, I think what she's done is killed it yesterday and eaten, basically. I mean, look at the size of her belly there. Shall we try a little bit forward?
All right.
I'll try a bit. I think that branch is going to remain in our way, though. Well, there you got her face. Into the glare of the now mid-morning African sun. But there is the royal queen of Djuma in all her, well, I wouldn't say this is her full glory. She's a bit sort of post-meal. Oh, look at that. That's pretty much full glory. Isn't that beautiful? Well, Edward, thank you for your question. Now that I've seen Karula, what's my next sightings goal? I am now very much looking forward to the day that the 2 wild dog packs that have denned off the reserve, so one south of us on Mala Mala and the other north in Manyeleti, I'm very much looking forward to the day that they bring their pups out of the den, probably at about 8 weeks, and start to move with those pups between sort of probably 8 and 12 weeks. So that's what I'm next looking forward to. But you know what? The more time I can spend with this beautiful leopard, the happier I will be. She's now being a little bit obstinate by turning her face towards the other way. So what we're going to do now is probably move out slowly, leave her to the rest of her meal, One of Scott or I will definitely come back here in the afternoon to see if she's still around. I hope she will be, because to see this leopard in the light of a setting sun will just be too magnificent. So thank you everybody once again for your patience. Thank you for hanging around with us. Thank you for bearing with the technical difficulties. Just remember that what we're doing here is a world first. Nobody else has managed to do it, so that's why we do have the odd technical hitch, and why Eugene sleeps for about half an hour a night. He's working constantly to try and make sure that we can bring you these incredible images in high definition from the middle of the Greater Kruger National Park. So from everybody here, Scott and Brian have closed down. Thank you for watching them, and they send their regards and best. Thank you to Tara and to Nikki in the final control for all of their help today, and to Eugene, of course. I think Andrew, the artvark, has been doing some camera work in the final control, and of course thank you to Viam, who spotted the magnificent Queen of Juma there as you see her, framed in the mid-morning African sun. Thanks for your questions. We will see you in the afternoon. And please remember to send us your questions and your comments. We love to hear from you, and you generate a tremendous amount of excellent conversation. So we'll see you later. Thanks a lot.